Shabbat Shalom. There is a joke in connection with this week's Parsha, or double Parsha, actually. The double Parsha of Tazria Metsora is so not connected to modern life, or seemingly not connected to modern life. It is about a skin disease, which is often translated as leprosy, although it wasn't leprosy, and different markings on people's body that makes them ritually impure. And it seems very distant from our experience. And so the joke goes that every week a rabbi's wife would say to him, "What are you speaking about this week?" And he would say, "What do you think I'm speaking about? I'm speaking about the weekly portion." So Vayeshev would come and she would say, "What do you think I'm speaking about?" He'd say, what are you speaking about? He'd say, "What do you think I'm speaking about?" The weekly portion. Another parsha, Chaye Sarah would come out and they would be asked, "What are you speaking about?" He said, "What do you think I'm speaking about?" The weekly portion. He gets to Tazria Metsora, the wife asks, "What are you talking about?" He says, "What do you think I'm talking about?" Israel. Because of this, I decided to combine the two and talk about how Tazria Metsora can connect us to Israel. It doesn't seem like an obvious connection. What is it about ritual purity and impurities that can connect us to the land of Israel? Well, this past week was Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel's Independence Day. And I was thinking about this and I thought, when one criticizes Israel, how do we know if that criticism comes from a place of purity or impurity? And the fact is, it's really not that difficult. If one criticizes Israel and does not criticize every other country that does whatever the criticism is, it's an impure criticism. If one criticizes Israel but doesn't give Israel credit for the amazing things that Israel has done and doesn't tout its successes as loudly or even louder than whatever failures it might have, it's an impure criticism. But if that criticism comes from love, if that criticism comes from pride in Israel because we love Israel and we want Israel to grow stronger in the areas in which Israel is weak, it's a pure criticism. Because any nation that is run by human beings is going to make mistakes. So the question is not, do we criticize Israel or do we not criticize Israel? The question is, are our criticisms coming from a place of love and from a place of fairness? And if so, then they come from a place of purity. And we continue our reading with Parshat Tazria on page 608.